we officially have issue 1 of Power Rangers across the Morphin Grid. I don't actually have it though. I pre-ordered it and it never came. Apparently my local store doesn't have it yet, which is quite boring. But I did get it on Google Play, so I've read it and we're going to talk about it. So first of all, if you don't know what this comic book is, it is like a Power Rangers anthology series with different parts written by actual Power Rangers. So in this one, for example, we have David Yost, who played Billy, Nakia Brees, who played Tanya, Steve Cardenas, who played Rocky, Walter E. Jones, who played Zach, and Megan Camarena, who played Chloe, along with many other talented writers, illustrators. There's a whole crew behind this. I'm gonna go through the comic book, but not in too much detail. So if you can pick up the comic book, give it a read. Let's just get into it. The first story in the comic is called Billy's Metamorphosis, and it is of course written by David Yost. We start with Billy voyaging through space with someone called Franklin, and they are in search of the Power Eggs. Now the Power Eggs are something from Mighty Morphin that we were told the Morphin Masters locked away, and Rita Repulsa was after him. Billy's after those with this guy called Franklin, but they crash land and Franklin seemingly doesn't make it. There's this fleet of like really strange but cool looking aliens trying to get Billy and stop him from getting the eggs, and they want to get the eggs themselves. And Billy's got this photo of his old team and he's like hearing their voices and they're saying things, and they're saying iconic lines from the original show. And you know, there's a line from Jason, "Isn't the smallest chance of victory enough of a reason for us to keep fighting?" Which of course is, you know, the line from the original show. I think it might be from Green with Evil, but I could be very wrong. There's lots of cool MMPR references in this, especially, you know, there's stuff from the Heights episode and all that. This is meant to be 28-year-old Billy as well, so he's already left the team in Zeo when he's gone up to space to Akotar. Now this is a story of him voyaging, which it's not technically in the main universe's canon, but it is meant to be slotted like in that time gap. Then this person appears, or I say person, this being. It's a mystical being called Adriel. Looks a lot like a female version of Alien X from Ben 10. Looks pretty cool. Lots of like colored orbs inside them, or planets, I'm not really sure. And they come to Billy and they're trying to convince Billy that they can do this, okay? He is under attack and this random being is like, you got this, you need to get those eggs. I want those eggs too, I don't want them to fall in the wrong hands, let's get them together. And Billy's like, I must be hallucinating, and he keeps hearing his teammates in his head. And this being called Adriel convinces Billy that he needs to jump into the center of the universe to get the eggs and give them to the Morphin Masters. And with an absolutely beautiful piece of art, he does that. He jumps into the center of the universe with the phrase, "On my honor, on my life, at all costs," which is something he said right at the start of the comic with Franklin, bringing the little bit full circle. We then immediately cut to 3 days later, and he is in a hospital, a space hospital, where Tommy is on a video call, and he's basically saying, "I'm very proud of you, I heard what happened," and he sends him a holographic version of the photo that he had of the Rangers because he lost his. And Billy says, "I heard you're getting a doctorate," which is, this is clearly the turning point in Tommy's, I guess, career, that he has decided to become Dr. O. And that is it. That is it for the little Billy section of this anthology series. Super fun, but left me wanting so much more. And I don't know if there's going to be more to this part of the story. Who is Adriel? What happened to Billy in the center of the universe? Like, I want to see that. Give me that story. But yeah, that was the first out of the 5 stories. David Yost, well done. Really, really cool. And the artwork, I mean, I'll just scroll through. The artwork is beautiful. It's so good. Look at it. The second part in this anthology series is called Tanya's Heavy Metal Rescue, which of course is about Tanya Sloan. Written by Nakia Brees and J.D. Sutphin. So Tanya is at Sloan Enterprises, which could be hers, could be her parents, I don't know. And she's seemingly recording with a band. And I think she's in the band because she had a bit of a musical background, especially in Zeo. I think she's in the band. Don't really know, but that's what she's doing. Then she gets an alert, and it is Adam and Aisha on the Astromega ship as the SPA. Now, first of all, sick little reference, right? This is clearly somewhat in the recent modern day. Adam and Aisha are, in fact, part of the SPA, which is cool. You know, this doesn't mean that this is canon in the MMPR universe. I mean, maybe that's where the little tie-in was, because I know Nakia Brees didn't get to be in Once and Always. She wasn't in Mighty Morphin, but kind of deserved to be. I don't know. I'll stay out of it. But Cool little tie-in. Tanya rushes out of Sloan Enterprises and enters what seems like a command center. Like, kind of is a command center, kind of isn't the command center. And there's an alpha. Is that Alpha 7? Is that Alpha 9? Is that Alpha 10? Is that a different alpha? I don't know. But either way, Tanya's like, we need to get to them. She morphs into Zero Ranger 2 Yellow and heads into space, where she finds Aisha. And Aisha basically says, look, Adam's been taken and the Zeo Crystal has been taken by none other than Gasket. Now, we could only assume that Gasket was... Well, it's weird because they were kind of blown up in the end of Zeo by Lord Zed and Rita. Then there's the assumption, okay, if they went on a bit longer, then they were definitely destroyed by the Z-Wave. But Gasket's alive. So the Z-Wave never happened in this universe, kind of, maybe, I don't know. Nevertheless, Gasket does have Adam, and they need to know where the Zeo Crystal is, but Adam will not tell him for anything. So instead of classic torture, which I know maybe probably is a bit too dark for this comic, Gasket uses a device to go through Adam's mind, and we see some cool things. Like, we see a bunch of kind of dates between him and Tanya, and like, you know, lots of his mind is based with Tanya, which is quite cute. But we also get the scene from the MMPR movie with Dulcia, where Adam basically says, oh, I'm a frog, which is very cool for starters. The fact that we've incorporated the movie into this little universe, I love that. As much as I love Ninja, that's quite cool to see make a reappearance like 30 plus years later. I mean, come on, the MMPR movie just doesn't get enough love, you know. The rights are with Fox, I get it. But yeah, seeing Dulcia in this was cool, and the classic I'm a frog line, which this little Stegosaurus that I have on my shelf, that was the spirit animal granted to me by Dulcia at Comic-Con by a cosplayer. But nevertheless, I'm a Stegosaurus apparently, even though I've like absolutely laced myself with the Triceratops, but it's fine. Anyway, Tanya and Alpha find Adam's whereabouts and they smash in and they save Adam. Tanya's fighting Gasket. He's like, please don't destroy me. Tanya ain't messing about, all right? Down goes Gasket. And the day saved. So Tanya and Adam are walking off and they're talking about how beautiful the view is and they can never get tired of it, when all of a sudden, Adam whips out a wedding ring. He doesn't say anything. He just whips it out and, well, this speaks for itself. I mean, come on. So Adam and Tanya are engaged, which is cool. There was, you know, throughout the entire of the show, pretty much alluded to that Tanya and Adam were together, right? That's fine. This wasn't bad at all. The action was cool. The art, I mean, again, the art, beautiful. I don't know, I'm invested in this Adam and Tanya story now, and it just ends there. So, again, maybe this is going to be a common theme going into the rest of this, I don't know. But yeah, Tanya seemingly has her own business / record label. Adam and Aisha working at the SPA, still a really cool touch. Like I said, the movie was a really cool touch from before. Yeah, I like whatever little universe this is. This is a cool universe. This is like the Prime universe. Like, you know, you've got Mighty Morphin, the 30-year show, but then the movie sits outside of it and XYZ. This feels like the good merge. And do you get what I mean? The third story is called In the Red and is written by Matt Groom and Steve Cardenas, who is the Red Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. The story follows Rocky's little sister called Reina de Santos, and basically she's having a bad day. She feels really bad about something that happened in school and she wants to go and chat to Rocky about it. She goes into Rocky's room and he's asleep and she's kind of like, oh, he's always so tired, what's going on? And finds that he has left out his power morpher. And she's like, we had a run-in with the Power Rangers before. Rocky was acting really weird and then he disappeared and then the Red Ranger showed up and I was suspicious, but now I know. And she's like, having this morpher probably makes him so confident being a Power Ranger. I need to get me some of that. And she takes it and she becomes the Red Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. So Rocky's little sister, Reina, is now MMPR Red and she's running through the city and she's talking to some kids and she's like lifting them and showing off his strength and she's kind of getting the kind of confidence and also attention that she wanted, until Lord Zed sends down a monster called Bulldog specifically to single out the Red Ranger. So clearly just unlucky day. Lord Zed could see that there was a single Ranger on their own. He targeted them, is about to go down. They fight for a little bit and obviously Reina doesn't know what they're doing, but Rocky steps in. Demorphed, obviously, because Reina has the morpher, and Rocky's like, look, I don't know who you are, I don't know why you have my morpher. Regardless, let's sort this out first. And obviously Reina's like, oh my god, Rocky. And he's just like, okay, you know me, this is nuts. Rocky fights Bulldog, doesn't defeat, but fights, holds his own. King, I mean, I know Steve Cardenas wrote this, so obviously Rocky's gonna be good in it, but, you know, still awesome. And once Bulldog is not defeated, but sort of away and down, Reina reveals to Rocky that, you know, hi, I'm your sister. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Reina's in pain. She's like, this hurts. This power is too much. Like, what is going on? Does it hurt you? And we get, like, some serious lore, like world building about the powers. Rocky basically explains the concept of the power transfer and the sword of power. Basically says for powers to go from one ranger to another, you need the sword of power to transfer the powers smoothly, because that way the powers transfer over, the connection to the grid transfers over as well, and that's how you become a Power Ranger if somebody before you had the powers. Now, I know throughout the years of the show, this was a bit shaky, especially with Kimberly and Kat in the same season, but you can assume maybe the power transfer happened before they passed the coin over. I don't really know. Raina then demorphs and Rocky kind of says, look, you need to keep calm, you need to say the words power down and just imagine the power leaving you, and that's how you demorph. She does that, gives the morpher back to Rocky and is like, okay, now you morph and sort this out. And he's like, look, I can't. You have not just taken these powers, like you straight ripped them. Like there is a like metaphorical mental like scar there, and it's going to take time for his connection to the grid to rebuild before we can properly morph again, which I imagine, you know, got a Zordon, sword of power, all that stuff. But that itself I thought was really cool as well. Like, you've taken the power from me and it hurts you, it's physically painful because there's so much power and it wasn't done smoothly, and now that you've given the power back, I can't just use it, like I've got to reconnect with it, which I thought was quite cool. But Rocky says there's no worry because my team has my back, and the team, Billy, Adam, Aisha, Kimberly and Tommy as the White Ranger show up. Tommy's like, sorry we took so long, you good, you coming? And then Rocky's like, yeah, no worries. And then even though he just said it's going to take a while to reconnect to the grid, he morphs anyway. He shouts Tyrannosaurus, he becomes the Red Ranger. It's cool. That's where the comic ends. I really like that one. That might have been, I think, currently, that's ranked as second. I think Billy's is currently my top. Then it's that one. Then it's Tanyas. Not to say Tanyas was bad in the slightest. I just really liked with this one the concept of swapping powers. And you just used my morpher. That was mine. And you used it, and that's why it's too much power for you to handle, and that's why the grid connections are unstable. XYZ. I thought that was really cool, and Steve Cardenas, Mac Room, good job with that. Even if things don't line up with the show, even when like this stuff doesn't connect exactly to how we've been told, or XYZ, whatever, I love, just give me new things to kind of feed off of, do you know what I mean? New concepts and new like abilities and lore to go alongside the show to really get you thinking. I know, I loved it. The fourth story is called An Apple a Day, and it is written by Walter Emmanuel Jones, aka Zach the Black Ranger. It opens up with Zach seemingly in a fight, but it turns out that he's just mentoring and teaching kids about self-defense. Then of course Zach gets communicated and he's got to join his team in the shipyard, I believe they said. And Tommy's the Green Ranger in this, so clearly these stories, again, it's an anthology series, so they should in theory be connected in some way because it's anthology, but they're not really connected. So Tommy's the Green Ranger. This is back in the 90s when they're all the original 6 team. They're fighting a monster called Bob, and he is an apple monster. Get it? Because bobbing for rap. Kind of looks like Pumpkin Rapper. Glad he doesn't rap, and I'm glad like this is a comic book and I can't hear it either because I hate that guy. The point is that not only can he fire apples from a cannon, but he can like disappear and like bob about the place. Get it? Bobbing for rap. Get it? Anyway, Zach has a plan. He basically gets the Rangers to surround the area in secret, and Zach distracts him. Now, there are many one-liners and quips, and they are awful and incredible at the same time. Zach distracts Bob. Again, it's a monster called Bob, and the Rangers surround him and fire, and that is the monster destroyed. The next day, Zach is walking and he sees a bit of commotion. What he realizes, one of the kids that he was mentoring is helping somebody get a balloon from a tree, showing that his hard work is really paying off. And, you know, the story of him going on to the peace conference and, you know, becoming a congressman, you know, it's been set up nicely. You know, there's some little bits in between. I kind of like the concept with this one, that this could be, like, canon. Nothing has changed about the main story, that this couldn't just be an in-between episode that we just never saw. And I like that. I think that's quite cool. This one feels like an MMPR episode. Like, this isn't like, you know, look at Billy out in space, look at this outlandish thing, look at this thing we never saw. This is like an MMPR episode in a comic book, which is sweet. I like it. It was really good. And I think it's weird because it's literally just like Zach's teaching somebody, then they fight, and then Zach's teaching. You can take out that middle bit, and those two end bits still really, like the start and the end really work. The fact that Zach is mentoring young kids, teaching them how to defend themselves and also playing to their strengths, and then we see that is paid off and those kids are doing good in the world. And then of course in the middle, you know, Power Rangers action as we love to see. The fifth and final story in this anthology is Chloe's Chaos Kitchen, and it follows Chloe from Hyperforce. So of course it is written by Megan Camarena. As I said, it follows Chloe, but also Vesper, the black Hyperforce Ranger. They have seemingly like a cooking show, and they're basically going to be making a candy burrito, which is a burrito filled with candy. And Vesper's like, hey, where did you get the idea for this? Or where did you get this recipe? And Chloe takes them back to Angel Grove, where we see the Hyperforce Rangers fighting the pumpkin rapper. Do you remember how I just mentioned him because I was thinking about him because of how much the apple monster, Bob, looked like him, and I said how much I hated him. And I've also just done a Halloween episode of Power Rangers video about the pumpkin rapper, now I don't like him, and now he's showing up again. Why is he around to haunt me? Why is he here to haunt me? There was clearly a part during the Hyperforce run where they go back to 1993 and they fight the pumpkin rapper in Angel Grove, which, cool, that's awesome. They talk about it, and they talk about the fact that they then got that recipe from Angel Grove because the pumpkin rapper, it was Halloween and they went trick-or-treating and they got a lot of sweets. Incorrect. Vesper's like, that's not how I remember it happening. They do flash back to Angel Grove, but basically Vesper and Chloe were trick-or-treating the entire time whilst Eddie, Marv and Jack were fighting the pumpkin rapper. So they come to that realization and they come back to present time. Well, they're not actually time traveling, it's just a flashback. And they've made the candy burrito and they're about to take a bite when Alpha 55 barges in and is like, that is too much sugar, you cannot have that. And they're like, oh crap, we gotta run. So they run, they start eating the burrito, and they get high off the sugar and end up in a food coma, which, you know, I'm thinking is maybe 70% food coma. And I don't know, maybe like 30% LSD, maybe, I don't know. Alpha 55 says, aye, and that is where the story ends. And the comic, I have a lot of respect for Hyperforce, so I love this little story. It's definitely one of the more quirky ones. It doesn't take itself as seriously, which is good, which is fun. I like that we see them go back to Angel Grove, and even though as much as I hate him, the fighting the pumpkin rapper was cool. Putting Alpha 55 in there was awesome as well. That was a cool little throwback to the actual Hyperforce comics and show. And yeah, a fun finish to the issue. So yes, like I said, that is the end of Power Rangers Across the Morphin Grid. First of all, if you're thinking of picking this up, it is a very fun read, and just to see the actual comic panels, like I said, I've not kept everything in this review. Go actually read it, it's very good. There's some beautiful art in it, credit to everybody who worked on it. As this is an anthology series, my assumption is that there'll be an issue 2, and like, in my mind, the logic is there's an issue 2 and we get part 2 to Billy's story, we get another Zach story, we get another Tanya story, or whatever along those lines, even if they're not exactly direct, and like issue 2 has a bunch of other Rangers who have, or Ranger actors that have written stories. I don't know, maybe all of these stories add up to one multiversal crossover? Like, I don't know, like there's just unanswered questions. That Billy storyline was like that, surely there's got to be something to that. And if not, David Yost, please, like, follow up. Like, I don't know. These were all great in their own way. They were all very different stories. Like, take the Billy story and then take the Chloe story. Complete opposite ends of any spectrum of writing and everything, but they were both great. But like, I want more. My theory would be that like Adriel is the connection between everything, right? This is called Across the Morphin Grid, which in theory could just mean across the Morphin Grid, across space and time and dimensions, whatever. These are all things that are going on. Random, unrelated, it is what it is. But to introduce like a cosmic being like Adriel, whoever they were, that surely needs a follow-up. Because I couldn't find any info anywhere on whether they're doing another issue. I'm going to assume there's going to be an issue 2, but maybe that's it. It's specifically called Across the Morphin Grid issue 1. There's going to be an issue 2, right? Surely? Or maybe it's a one-off. Maybe it's a one-off comic book and it just adds some new stories. I have no idea. I checked. I couldn't find anything. So yeah, Across the Morphin Grid. Very cool. I loved them all. I really did. I don't want it to sound like I didn't, but Billy's Metamorphosis, I want to see more of. And screw it, give me more Chloe and Vesper adventures as well, please. And I want to see more of the Adam and Tanya relationship. And I want to see more of Reina DeSantos. I'd say I want to see more of Zach as well, but just give me more stories like that. Just Zach-focused stories. You know what I mean? Like that, because like I said, that was just a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode in a comic panel. It's really good. Give me more of that. Give Walter Jones his own comic book series. Will he just write fun stories about Zach? Because yeah, I want it. I want full stories of all of these. Thank you guys so much for watching. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you read it? Is this your first interaction with this comic book? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Even if you didn't like it, just tell me why. It'd be cool to find out. Thanks again. I upload 2 videos a week, 1 show a day. So there is plenty of content if you're new. And if you're not new, there's this back catalogue. You've got videos to look forward to, videos behind if you haven't seen them. And yeah, I've just come back from Disneyland Paris, hence the brand new little spider and the Pixar bowl. If anyone noticed the new additions to the shelf, this will also probably be the last video with the Halloween background, because it is Halloween now. So it's about to not be Halloween. I mean, you know, no crap, but you know, thanks again. I'll see you soon.